In this video, we're going to cover safety protective equipment for baseball. This is very important, especially if you're a parent and you're starting out with a young ball player and you're not sure what's necessary, what's not. There's been a lot of new items added to the market, some that are really innovative that you see major leaguers using, and you're not sure, do I need this for my 10-year-old, for my 8-year-old, for my 14-year-old? So we'll cover all these different topics. This video will be a little bit long because of that, but you can use the timestamps below and scrub through to the different items that I'll discuss here. Make sure you make informed decisions with your money. I'm going to break this video up into necessary items for safety and protection, and then sort of the optional ones. And these are my opinion. You should make the right choices for your body and for your kids. Make sure they're protected and that you all feel comfortable with your decisions. So let's get to it. Number one, helmet. Buy a great helmet that is got the certification, the NOC SAE seal. Almost all these have them, so it's not going to be hard to find the right one. You just need to find one that fits. It needs to not like wobble around their head, and most of them are pretty darn good today. When I grew up as a kid, there was a wide range of helmets. You could have some ones with really thin padding that were just way too loose. You had ones that were really tight fitting. You know, we had team helmets. Now every kid pretty much has their own helmet, and I think that's the right thing to do. Find a good fitting helmet that they're going to be comfortable wearing, that's going to got some, you know, has some ventilation. Don't buy cheap on this. They're not super expensive. $20 to $50 usually is going to do it. But if you can get the more expensive helmet that's got a higher like mile per hour rating, some have that, some don't. Now with the helmet, there are two other considerations. The C-flap, that's the one that goes and protects a lot of your cheek. Giancarlo Stanton of the New York Yankees, he always wears one of these because he got hit in the face a couple years ago. So it was just added protection after he got some, I think, reconstruction work done. C-flaps, they restrict your, field of vision just slightly, but most players seem to not have a problem with this. He's obviously still doing fine in the major leagues. It's definitely doable, so discuss that if you want the C-flap. Is that a necessary thing? I think it's a good extra piece of protection for an extra $15 or whatever it costs to buy one and bolt it on. And most of them have like the snaps or the screw holes where you can just easily attach it. So the C-flap, I think, is a good idea. That can be a really traumatic injury if they just happen to not turn the right way. Most of the time, remember though, you're going to get out of the way just by turning, and wearing it here. But sometimes, hitters just like flinch. They don't make the right move at first with a really hard throwing pitcher, and they might get one in the face, but it's still really, really rare. But I think the C-flap is a nice addition if you want extra protection, you're all comfortable with it. Face masks, however, they're kind of restrictive. In general, I find those to be not completely necessary. Again, make the right decision for you and your family. But if you're wondering, is this like standard? Do we definitely need a face mask? I think the answer is no. And if you watch any youth game, you don't see a whole lot of face masks. At the younger levels, you might. Just make your best decision. But in general, good helmet is important. A C-flap, I think, is a nice extra piece of protection that can be really important. I think the face mask is an optional, mostly unnecessary, but obviously can have its uses. So take that as it will. All right, next, let's talk about athletic cups. So parents, here's the thing to know. Most of you understand that your kids need to wear a cup. Men and boys, they need to protect their junk, their reproductive organs. This is obvious, but the problem is it ends up just being whether or not they'll actually wear the thing, right? Most athletic cups are cut too wide. They're not very anatomical. There's some new options on the web. I'll show you the one that I use in a moment, but you need to find a cup that's A, durable and made well, and B, that's comfortable enough for your kid where they'll actually wear it and not worry about it. Well, they'll make it a habit, just like brushing their teeth, just like taking their vitamins. They put on their cup and it's not a big deal to them. For me as a former pitcher and outfielder, as soon as I could get in a position where I didn't feel like adults were monitoring, like my dad wasn't going to be on me about it, I would take my cup off because I didn't play infield, I didn't catch, and the thing was so big and uncomfortable, it felt like I had like a cereal bowl between my legs, my thighs like banging into the thing. That is what you want to avoid. And if you buy a cup that's wide and too big and doesn't fit well, your kid's going to be running around feeling clunky and unathletic, and they're going to want to take it off. And you're not going to know this, and then they're going to be out in the field unprotected, and the consequences for getting hit in the crotch are really, really severe. I play slow pitch softball now as an adult, just recreationally, co-ed for fun, and I'm playing infield a lot. and I bought myself a cup and I wear it. So the one that I personally use, and again, do your own research. There's lots of options out there, but I use this one. It's called the Nutty Buddy. And here's why I got this one. It was recommended to me by a catcher who's a friend, but this thing is different. I have the flex version, so it's got some rubber on the sides, but the big wide part is where it's, keeping your junk inside. And this narrow part is really important because this kind of fits between your legs. It tapers a lot better than most cups do. Like this diamond shape is really, I find, to be comfortable, where I thought about like taking it off when I hit and only putting it back on the field, because again, as a kid, I hated wearing a cup. It was really uncomfortable. This one is comfortable where I don't take it off the whole game. I just hit with it. I play in the field. I just put it in before the game and I don't take it out till I'm done. And that's what you want as a parent. You want one that's comfortable, that they're gonna not think about and not worry about wearing. If you can find that, then your kid's gonna be protected and you're not gonna have to worry about it. But you're avoiding a lot of headaches, some serious pain, and a really big medical bill by finding the right athletic cup for your kid. And look, every position should wear them. Catcher, infielder are the highest risk, but pitchers, you can get hit. Outfielders get hit too. It happens, so take your athletic cup really seriously. Number 3, let's talk about cleats. Cleats are important for 2 reasons here for safety. Number 1, if you have a kid who's hurt their ankle before, or maybe they're just like a little wobbly or really tall, and maybe they're kind of loose jointed, and you feel like they might benefit from some more ankle protection, get them 3/4, the mid height cleats. That's going to wrap pretty far up the ankle, and when you lace those pretty tight, you have like a pretty good amount of extra ankle protection for rollovers. I rolled over my ankle as a 15 or 16-year-old, just slowing down, going to second base, sort of turn a little bit, rolled over my ankle, sprained it pretty bad, and that bothered me for another couple of years, and I started to wear mids after that, the higher cut cleats, just to give me extra protection, and honestly, it worked pretty well. And then second thing about cleats, the turf fields with the infield, that's the long blades with the chopped up rubber in between, those fields get insanely slick when it rains. And a lot of players just wear turf shoes. They just wear their tennis shoes, essentially, playing on those fields. And that's okay. I still don't think it's ideal. I don't think you get that good of traction on those fields with just turf shoes, but a lot of players choose to do that. I highly recommend wearing molded plastic cleats when you're playing on turf, and metal cleats if your age allows it on dirt, and moldeds if that's what you're most comfortable with. But what I recommend is, as soon as your kid's old enough, get away from the rubber black cleats. The black rubber is a soft rubber. They do not dig in well on really hard dirt. They just don't bite nearly as well as the moldeds or the metals. And especially on turf, they're fine. But again, as it starts to rain a little bit, or if it's kind of slick, the rubber cleats just don't bite in that well. So I really recommend a good pair of plastic molded cleats. And those, like, they're white or gray on the bottom typically. You'll know, and they say TPU molded when you're looking at buying cleats. It's great to have 2 pairs of cleats in your bags if you can afford it. You can always find them cheap, on 6pm.com or at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something. But a pair of metal cleats and a pair of moldeds is a good kit to go throughout the summer, where you might play on dirt and you might play on turf. So just something to think about with cleats, because slipping and falling, if your ankle rolls in, your knee is going to go in with it, and that's how ACL tears and meniscus tears happen. Having good traction is a really important part of being safe. Side note on traction, if your kid pitches, and say you're a coach, I think it's really important to always have popsicle sticks, tongue depressors, and some athletic tape in your bag. Or you can spring for one of these portable cleat cleaning mats. They're only like $20. They're made of plastic, and you can just throw them behind the mound if it's a dirt mound, and you can take it back, with you later. But having a way for your pitchers to clean their cleats out if and when it starts to rain is incredibly important. It is a huge risk to have caked up cleats, and this happens real fast if it just gets even a little bit wet. Number 4, let's talk about catching gear for just one moment. I'm not going to cover catching gear throughout this video. I'm going to make a separate video about that. But a throat protector is a very important piece, and you just need to verify that either your hockey style mask, which is what most face masks are these days, the big one that wraps all around, looks like a hockey mask, those ones usually extend pretty low, where they have essentially throat protection built in. But this little dangling piece, the throat protector, it used to be a lot more common. It's less common now, but they're still very important, and most umpires wear them, because most umpires don't wear, well, a lot of umpires wear hockey masks, some don't. but the throw protector just dangles a little bit farther down. And especially for young kids who are just learning to catch, one of the big scary things is that if they flinch the wrong way, and this is the way they have to be taught to block, is they need to be taught to block by pulling their chin down when they go down to block. But when you're young and you're afraid of getting hit and you're just getting used to it, what happens when you're doing blocking drills, a lot of times kids go, ugh. They'll drop down into a block, but they'll also turn their head away. And what that does is it exposes your throat. And it's a mistake you only make once as a young catcher. If you don't have a throw protector and you flinch and raise away and you expose that, you could be really seriously injured if it's a baseball. But again, it's a mistake you'll only make once. When you learn to block, your catching instructor should be teaching you to dig that chin into your chest, which is a safety issue, and it also helps you curl over to corral the ball in front of you. If your kid is young and still learning to catch and they don't have this stuff down, they should have a throw protector. And a throw protector is not bad for any level of play. But again, if your kid's older, they might not need this if they've got enough built in with their catching mask and they're already pretty good at getting their chin down. But if your kid's young, definitely look at getting a throw protector, which just ties to the bottom of their mask and just another layer of protection in case they do flinch, or just something weird happens, you don't know, that they've got that extra thing that's going to cover their exposed throat. All right, so let's go on to things that I believe are more optional for protection. Sliding mitts. Do you need a sliding mitt as a baseball player? This is a new thing. You see it in Major League Baseball. It looks like they've got an oven mitt or in one hand, usually one hand, but sometimes both. So you see the guy run around like lobsters on the field. But what the sliding mitt does is it just gives an extra layer of protection against jamming your fingers into the base or getting stepped on by cleats, which obviously can be a very big deal. Getting spiked is never fun, especially if it's a dynamic double play where the shortstop or second baseman has to go into the air, they're falling down as the runner's sliding into them. Cleats can hit hands and it's really painful. I think this is another one of those optional things that you could splurge on, and they're probably gonna have a little better chance of not getting stepped on and getting a serious injury from it. That's great. Is this a necessary thing? Not so much. It's a good trend. I think it makes sense. But a lot of these bumps and bruises are just things you learn playing the game. It's not fun getting stepped on. Most of you aren't going to have a major injury from it. So it's another one of those things. I think it's a cool piece of technology, but do you need a sliding mitt? It's up to you. Next, let's talk about thumb guards for catchers. This is something that a lot of you probably don't know about. I'll share a quick story. I was in spring training in Camden, which is an Atlantic League pro team, in 2015, and we had a couple young college kids helping us out catching pitchers' bullpens and helping us get ready for some of our exhibition games. It was like a fun thrill for them, like a 19-year-old kid getting to catch guys like us and, helping us warm up. I threw 92 to 94, and I had a cutter that was pretty good. That was like 88, 89, and this kid had never seen stuff like that. So as I'm warming up and I'm getting, I had to get hot pretty quick to go and get my inning, and I'm throwing fastballs, and he's catching them like he's doing okay. And then I throw him the first cutter, and he wasn't ready for it. He'd never really seen one before, and I throw him a pretty good cutter, and at the last minute it just breaks 4 inches, real sharp, real sudden, hits him in the thumb, and his mitt just drops, and he starts yelling, and he had to go get an MRI that day. Thought he broke his thumb. He ended up tearing some ligaments in his thumb because especially with sinker ballers, catchers have a real tough time. They can get thumbed, which is when that ball goes like this and it can hit you right there, and just your thumb takes the entire force of a 90 plus mile per hour sinker or cutter or whatever it is. But pitchers that have really sharp movement and good velocity, you really run the risk of getting thumbed, and it is incredibly painful. So they make these thumb guards. I know Evo Shield's a company that makes it. There's a couple other companies. You can buy splint material, which you kind of warm up in hot water, and then you can mold it and cut it. And if you Google, you'll find instructions on how to do that. But getting a catcher's thumb guard, lots of pro catchers wear these, and it's basically just like a splint that goes right here that gives you extra protection and not let your thumb get jammed back on a pitch that's down and sinking into the zone or breaking at the last minute. It can be really painful, and it can really hurt you and end your season potentially. So consider getting a thumb guard. If you're a catcher, look into it, and if you have a catcher in your life, ask them if they've used one and what they recommend and at what age they found it to be most relevant. All right, big piece of controversy. Should youth hitters wear arm guards, whether it's the small one that just does the tricep or like the full sort of Barry Bonds, like bionic arm guard. Should this be something that you invest in as a parent or a player? Do you need this? I'm here to tell you that this is an optional piece of equipment. Now, look, every sort of thing that could happen in baseball has happened. There have been kids killed by a direct hit to the heart, which I'll cover at the end. There have been players who've been hit on the elbow, shatters their elbow. I've had a college teammate who got hit by our slowest throwing pitcher that fall, hit him in the forearm, it absorbed like 100% of the velocity and just the ball fell. Like it wasn't a glancing blow, just like boom, boom, broke his forearm, he missed the season. This stuff happens every year. It's not that prevalent though. Most of the time, you get hit on the tricep, it hurts real bad, but you've got enough meat and this bone is thick enough that you're going to be fine. But freak accidents happen, right? And so the reason you see so many major leaguers wearing big protective arm guards is because they're paid $15 million to make it through a whole season. They're a valuable commodity, and they're not going to be like, well, we should just tough it out, so we're going to wear this. They're just trying to get as many innings and games out of their expensive players as possible, right? And as a major leaguer, if you get hurt and you're a second-year player, you might get replaced. You might never get a chance to be back out there. So it makes a lot more sense at that age or at that level of intensity and scrutiny and money where players, they need to stay on the field because they know they have a finite window in Major League Baseball, right? And it's hard to stay there, really hard to stay there. Does that mean that every youth kid should do that stuff? I mean, I think it's okay. I think it's a choice you make. I don't think it can hurt, pun intended. But is this something that you need to have, your kid needs to wear to be safe? I think the answer is no. I mean, we didn't have this stuff for forever, and we weren't all getting, sent to the hospital from hit by pitches. You get hit in the ribs, you get hit in the arm, you get hit in the back. Most of the time it gets enough meat where you're going to be okay. Freak incidents once in a while, here and there, rarely it happens that you get seriously hurt. That's just part of baseball. So again, this is a family decision for you. Do you need this? Do you not? It's up to you. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I can definitely say that it's not necessary to play the game, and it's not necessary to be, safe enough. Like, baseball is not warfare. It's not tackle football. It's not ice hockey, where you need a lot of protection just to make it through a season. But as a parent, if, expenses are getting really, really high, it's just going to be a decision you're going to have to make and what level of risk you're all okay living with. But the big one that I do think is much more, I don't know, they're damaging, they happen seemingly a lot, are the inside ankle guards. And if you've ever done this, it is incredibly painful. I've done this a couple of times, both in my youth career, and I think I did it once in pro ball. I think I fouled one off the inside of my ankle. It brings you to your knees. That foul deflection, it's not losing a lot of velocity, so sometimes it's like 95 square to a bone, and it's bad. So those can really be tough to bounce back from at times, and you can miss some serious time from one of those, even if it doesn't break your leg. You can have some serious bone bruises that can just take a couple weeks or a month to heal. Again, does that mean that everyone needs one? But you see more and more major leaguers wearing these just because they can be so debilitating, even if they're not like a broken bone or something really serious. So the inside leg guard, it's a real thing. Just parents to understand that if you've never played the game, it's a real thing, super painful, and that can be worth a look as to get a protector for that. Last two, I'm going to cover these together. Mouth guard, do you need a mouth guard for baseball? And a heart guard, do you need a heart guard for baseball? So I'll link in the description below. There'll be a bunch of links, so definitely check the description out. But I'll link to some of the research about the heart injuries in baseball, and they say basically about 30 kids a year suffer. I'm not sure if it's only baseball based on the research or if it's all ball implemented sports. But if you get hit in the heart with a fast object, whether it's a lacrosse ball or a baseball or a softball, if it hits your heart off rhythm, it can send you into like fibrillation, basically like giving you a heart attack where your heart is just quivering and it can't pump blood. That's obviously really scary. It can kill you. How often does that happen? Again, they said like 30 deaths a year. It's a very tiny number. Do you need to send your kid to the field with a heart guard on? Look, that's a family choice. I'm not going to say one way or another. It's very rare that this happens. And this thing always goes back to the overarching idea of how much do you really need to protect your kids from all these different things? I don't know. It's a good question. Most parents don't think about heart guards. Some parents do. Again, it's a family choice, but it's an extremely rare occurrence. It's extremely unlikely that your kid's going to get hurt in this way, but you never know, So something up to you. Mouth guards, you think you get hit in the mouth more often than you do, but really the only time that's going to happen is a bad hop in the infield or something like that. I don't know that it's extremely rare that you get hit in the mouth, even with a bad hop. They happen, especially on youth fields. They get pretty rough and chewed up. But does that mean you should be wearing a mouth guard all the time? Baseball games are long. There's a lot of games in the season. It's a pretty uncomfortable thing to have one of those big, protective, valuable mouth guards in, just because it's hard to communicate. It's hard to breathe with those. And the risk of getting hit in the mouth is very, very low. Is it zero? Of course not. But it's very, very rare, and you don't see it very often. So do you need a mouth guard? Probably not, but again, that's a family choice for you to make. All right, so hopefully you found this video helpful. Leave me a comment below if you have any questions about different equipment, about different ages, stuff like that. I know that you parents probably have a lot of questions about what's worth it, what's not, how much to spend, etc. So feel free to throw those questions at me. And look, baseball safety equipment, it's a big question. And, companies, they want you to buy more and more and more and figure out, and you got to know, like, hey, what do I actually need to play this game? And what's just superfluous extra stuff? It can be tough to wade through, all right? But hopefully this video has helped you make some informed decisions about what's right for you, what's super important, and what's a little bit less important, all right? Thanks again for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you here in the next video.